but dozens of lesser-known Panthers were also murdered by the FBI. Assassination is not the only option. Congress found that the FBI conducted 200 black bag jobs between 1948 and 1966, and over 500 between 1966 and 1975. Black bag jobs are warrantless entries carried out for intelligence purposes other than microphone installation, such as physical search and seizure, photographing, or stealing documents and records. So practically, what does this mean? What can be done? First, don't be afraid. Police and other security forces want to use fear and intimidation to break up movements without dramatic confrontations or risky operations that could cause blowback. As a general rule, don't gossip. If you have a problem with someone, talk about it only with people you know and trust. It is one thing to process frustrations and to work towards an interpersonal solution. It is another to smear and malign. Allow for open, honest discussion. A lot of psy-war, or psychological warfare, can be beaten by having a conversation outside of your comfort zone. In addition to staying calm and treating people well, radical organizations need to establish security procedures appropriate to their level of activity. This is something only your movement organization can decide. Regarding civil disobedience and direct action, plan ahead. Have a bail fund. Have a bail fund, legal observers, and get to know a sympathetic lawyer. I'm sure the legal team here is already doing this. Be smart about illegal drugs, tax returns, parking tickets, and other things that could cause you trouble. Keep duplicates and also keep duplicates of valuable records. At the same time, we shouldn't abuse security procedures. If they become more than an operative tool, security procedures can create tensions and apprehensions that genuine infiltrators can exploit. They can create de facto hierarchies that enable a small group to seize decision-making authority. As all the other practical suggestions I went over indicate, the fear of infiltration should be met with openness. It is instructive to remember that the secrecy of the Communist Party helped make McCarthyite hysteria persuasive and the idea of a threatening conspiracy compelling. In contrast, the brazen openness of Abby Hoffman, Jerry Rubin, and others within the New Left helped bring down the House Committee on Un-American Activities in 1967. Security procedures need to be balanced and mitigated by being critical and reflexive about it. Practically, security procedures are most effective when they are used only when it is absolutely necessary, so certain plans can go off under the routine chatter of a group. Don't be a scenester. Security names are operative tools, not ironic badges of status. Direct action and civil disobedience, likewise, are tactics that movements use to advance their goals. They are not something done for scene cred. Direct action often can enable an increase in repression. Do we want to make life more difficult for our movements and our allies in order to become movement celebrities? No. Be smart. Be humble. Take risks only if they advance the cause. Fight for something bigger than yourself, not your ego. Now, the final area I'm going to cover is what's up today. What are the current methods of policing? In the last decade, there's been a revolution in the organization of policing in the United States. The rise of intelligence-led policing. A more aggressive kind of policing, ILP, or intelligence-led policing, focuses on the gathering and analysis of intelligence in support of proactive strategies geared towards crime control and quality of life issues. A silent challenge to legal protections requiring criminal predicate for domestic intelligence gathering, ILP subjects broad categories of people and geographic areas to increased police surveillance. Case in point, the Associated Press recently exposed CIA training of the NYPD on tradecraft issues. The NYPD now sends teams of undercover officers known as rakers into minority neighborhoods as a part of a human mapping program. They monitor daily life in bookstores, bars, cafes, and nightclubs. Police have also used informants known as mosque crawlers to monitor sermons even when there's no evidence of wrongdoing. Alongside and complementing the rise of intelligence-led policing stands a new nationwide intelligence system, the Homeland Security Intelligence Fusion Centers. For the first time in U.S. history, the entirety of domestic intelligence operations, from local cops to federal agencies, are linked through 72 fusion centers, 6 regional information sharing systems, and a nationwide Homeland Security Information Network, a digital network that links fusion centers on a nationwide basis. All told, these centers allow for the intelligence sharing among the 17,000 police organizations in the United States. They also allow for the mobilization of the 800 plus law enforcement officers across the country to function, in the words of a prominent Homeland Security official, as the eyes and ears of the extended national security community. Occupying an ambiguous institutional location, fusion centers are nominally operated by state agencies, often a state Homeland Security Department or state police, but they include the participation of the private sector and federal agencies, including the military. Pressured at a congressional hearing to answer who is the leading authority inside fusion centers, a DH official said fusion centers are in charge of fusion centers. One analyst described the situation as the Wild West, where officials are free to use a variety of technologies before politics catches up and limits options. As these comments indicate, fusion centers are controversial for their expanding functions and lack of oversight. This mission creep encourages the violation of civil liberties through ever-increasing data mining and policy shopping, where the process through which officials...
All right.
Okay, so policy shopping, right? Which is the process through which officials pick and choose from overlapping sets of laws so they can collect and use personal information as freely as possible while avoiding privacy laws, open record acts, and civil liability. Reflecting this expansive power and limited oversight, fusion centers already have been implicated in many scandals involving the covert surveillance and political policing of constitutionally protected political activity. Monitoring the Catholic Worker, American Friends Service Committee, environmental groups, the Green Party and PETA in Maryland, infiltrating Students for a Democratic Society and other anti-war groups in Olympia, Washington, surveilling Ron Paul supporters in Tennessee, spying on the new Black Panther Party, the Nation of Islam, anarchist groups, far-right militias, a variety of Muslim groups in Virginia, infiltrating an Islamic center in Irvine, California, and monitoring Veterans for Peace, Code Pink, and numerous college anti-war groups in California. These are but a few of the many known examples of the new aggressive surveillance and political policing organized through Homeland Security fusion centers and brought to a street corner near you by local cops trained in intelligence-led policing and armed with daily intelligence briefings. So in this context of intelligence-led policing and ubiquitous domestic intelligence gathering, we have our Occupy movement, with its radical horizontality and openness. Organizing in the open, where everyone is free to join, the Occupy movement cannot hide anything from the police. We would be naive to assume that our General Assemblies are not totally penetrated. Similarly, it would be equally naive not to think that there isn't an insane amount of intelligence being generated on nearly all the major participants in occupations. Already, there are some indications of surveillance and policing along these lines. We already know that Thomas Ryan, a security consultant with Provide Security, infiltrated Occupy Wall Street as early as the planning stages and began forwarding their emails to the NYPD. Similarly, the Denver occupation has already claimed that they have many agent provocateurs